So today we're going to start off with subtract mixed numbers with like denominators. This is just a free worksheet off the internet. You can type in the Google search bar free math worksheets, or you can say free math worksheets with subtract mixed numbers with like denominators or similar search tags. Okay. So this is fairly easy compared to some of the other fraction problems that come after this topic, which is subtract mixed numbers with unlike denominators using regrouping. So we're going to start off really easy. You're going to notice that all the problems have the same denominators. There's no multiplying with the least common denominator. There's no regrouping. It's just straightforward subtraction, okay, broken down into parts. So we're going to go through the top part, which I think demonstrates a very clear example of the correct method to go about getting the correct answer when you have whole numbers and fractions. So the first thing we're going to look at is we're going to look at the equation. It's 4 and 5, 6. So when you're speaking to somebody and conveying to your teacher, because your teacher selects you to read the equation so they can put it on the board, the way you speak is you say 4 and, so there's like a imaginary word and 5, 6. And we want to remember that any number in the denominator, there's a whole little vocabulary that goes with it. So like for instance, that is hilarious. So if it's a 1/2, you're gonna say 1/2. This becomes a half. Okay. Forgive me, my coffee hasn't kicked in. If it's a 3, you're gonna say thirds. There's an S. So my brain was gonna make this plural, say halves, but we're gonna say half, because you can't have 2 halves unless the equation specifically states it, that it's 2 halves, which makes it 1, makes it a whole. When you get to 4 in the denominator, now it's going to be fourths, 1/4. So the number in the numerator is normal. It's the number in the denominator that has the grammar changes. So any number after 4, we can now start adding THS to it. Okay, so now going back to the top, 4 and 5, 6 minus 4 and 1/6. And that gives us 0. 4, 6, and they show it divided by 2, we get 2/3. Okay, so what just happened here? I'm going to show you what just happened. So you were told to read the example in the book. We're going to learn how to read the problem so the teacher can put it on the board. So the teacher caught a child not paying attention, and that's what ends up happening. It's okay, because guess who also was like that? Me. So we're going to reread this again. Teacher just put it up on the board. Now we have to explain it. So we have 4 and 5, 6 minus 4 and 1/6. And now we're going to ignore this part, and we're going to go to the bubble. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at it. We're going to subtract the whole numbers and then subtract the fractions. So 4 minus 4 is actually 0. So what they did was to say, look at the whole numbers first. We're going to subtract the whole numbers, and we're going to get 0. Now let's look at another one. Let's look at a different. So for instance, this one, 6 minus 5, we're going to get, whoever said 1 is correct. Now I write my numbers funny because I happen to have had a student that was dyslexia, and then when I corrected this number to this, they were able to see it as a 7. When I corrected this number to this, they were able to see it as a 0. And when I corrected this number, which is actually a 1, they were actually able to see it as a 1. So I have funny looking numbers because of that. I also do not have the funny 2. I have the normal 2. That, to somebody with dyslexia, is not able to render that. So all my numbers are a little bit different than the normal reading eye. Okay? So keep in mind Not everybody's able to comprehend math because they might have the inability to read numbers correct. So going back to the top, 4 minus 4 is 0. Now that we have the answer to the whole numbers, we're going to look at the fractions now. So 5 6 minus 1 6. Now you all remember the rule. The rule is if it's like denominators, we leave the denominator alone. We just write it out. We put the 6 on the bottom, then the bar on top of it. And then we're going to do 5 minus 1. We're only going to focus on the numerators. So 5 minus 1 is going to give us 4. Okay? And remember, we always write our answers in the simplest form. Simplest form actually means how much more can you undress the fraction. So simple. I know, everybody's saying, why would you pick fashion to decide to describe that? It's very hard to get a child to understand what simplest form is. So what we say is get it to be and, take a breath, breathe, 1/10 equals, well, we're going to find out. So let's do what they tell us, which is correct. So that's correct thinking. 5 minus 1 gives us 4. All right. Same denominator. We don't have to do anything other than rewrite it and put the bar on top. We're going to erase this part because it's going to confuse everybody. Okay. Everybody see that? 3 minus 1 gives us 2. Is it in its simplest form? No. What do we have in common with 2 and 10? Well, let's write out the multiplication. So if you don't know your multiplication, you need to sharpen up on it. What gives us 10 besides 1 times 10? We also have 2 times 5. So what do they have in common? They have in common a 2. That means then we can rewrite it as 4. We have the 1, and then we have the 5. So that makes it 4 1/5. Now I'm a little bit sloppy because I'm trying to balance everything out.